There are more than enough reasons and more than enough people who can point out what's not working in our society right now. Enough of us can repeat again and again how awful it is becoming or could become. Over time, our awfulizing and our list of woes can begin, I feel, to feel like we're in an ever-deepening emotional, spiritual sinkhole. So, without denying what is truly troubling, I want to propose a practice during these upcoming 10 days of awe that we transmute that awfulizing whenever we catch ourselves doing it. Transmute that awfulizing energy by starting with a different set of questions. Questions such as, are you ready to hear these questions? One question: what is the world that we want our children and grandchildren to live in? What does a world with more compassion, more justice, more equity, and more care for the earth look like? What is this world that we actually want to participate in creating? So it's a different starting place than browbeating and awfulizing. And it goes to asking us, what do we want to see happen? What is it that would lure us forward? I personally find these questions a lot more motivating than the endless doom scrolling that can occur in our heads or in our conversations. But again, this is not at all a denial of the current challenges we face, because the second part, I knew there was going to be a second part. The second part of this reconstructing ourselves process is then to ask, after we've articulated what we want to move toward, then we ask ourselves, what is within us that currently stands in the way of our getting there? What is currently in the way in ourselves that stands between getting to that world that we want for our grandchildren and our children? What is within and among us that impedes us towards moving there? What are we committed to making happen? What do we need to relinquish or resist in order to bring it forward? You see those two parts work together? The starting place is articulating where do we want to go. And then the next part is saying what stands in the way, what impedes us, what are we willing to commit ourselves to in order to bring that about. That tone of conversation, I think, will be a lot more mobilizing and enlivening than one where we just rehearse our current woe, and I'm just as guilty as anyone, the current woes and awful things that are happening in our world. Make sense to you? Just say yes. Okay. It just so happens that I can find enough support for this approach that I'm proposing that we take during this upcoming period of the High Holy Days, these days of awe within the Jewish tradition. So one that I could find in the Jewish tradition is first, you start with the new year. You start with hopes. You start with what you're wanting to see happen. You start with that sense of a presence, a holy presence, before you go into those days where you then recollect and repair and all of that work. So there's that, order of the days. This spirit of beginning with what's possible is captured in this poem in a recent book by Rabbi Alan Solovey. Notice that the meditation entitled Wildly Unimaginable Blessings begins also with a vision. Let us dream wildly unimaginable blessings. Blessings so unexpected, blessings so beyond our hopes for this world, blessings so unbelievable in this era that their very existence uplifts our vision of creation, our relationships to each other, and our yearning for life itself. Let us dream wildly unimaginable blessings, a complete healing of mind, body, and spirit, a complete healing for all, the end of suffering and strife, the end of plague and disease, when kindness flows from the river of love, when goodness flows from the river of grace, awakened in the spirit of all beings, when God's light, radiating holiness, is seen by everyone. Let us pray with all of our hearts for wildly unimaginable blessings so that God will hear the call to open the gates of the garden, seeing that we haven't waited, that we've already begun to repair the world, each of us becoming a blessing in testimony to our faith in life, our faith in each other, and our faith in the Holy One, the source of all blessings. This non-browbeating approach to bringing about change starts with this capacity to articulate clearly and compellingly a vision of our future that is worthy of our grandest awe. And then with that energy, we ask ourselves, given that, what needs to shift? What needs to change? What commitments am I willing to make to bring it about? As Unitarian Universalists, we have a long heritage of advocating for positive change that brings forth possibilities that are latent within human beings and within current structures of our society. We don't just settle for what is, because we know something more wants to happen within us and through us. We don't just settle with what is, because we know something more wants to happen within us and through us.